I spent my days watching perfect couples on TikTok, and I ended up hating my husband for no reason at all. In my line of work as a structural engineer, we have a term called fatigue. It's what happens when a perfectly good material is subjected to repeated, small stresses over a long period. It doesn't break all at once. It develops microscopic cracks that you can't see until the whole bridge collapses. My marriage to Clara didn't end because of a lightning strike. It ended because of the slow, silent poison of a scroll. She didn't find someone better. She found a digital fantasy, and she used it to measure a man who was made of flesh, bone, and reality. I'm a man of substance. I'm the guy who shows up. For 6 years, I was the steady hand in Clara's life. I worked 48 hours a week so she could pursue her dream of opening a boutique bakery. I was the one who fixed the plumbing at 3 a.m., the one who carried her to bed when she fell asleep on the sofa, and the one who made sure her car always had a full tank of gas and fresh oil. I wasn't an Instagram husband. I didn't spend our vacations holding a gimbal or staging candid shots of us laughing in front of a sunset. I was too busy actually living those moments with her. But for Clara, if it wasn't recorded, it didn't happen. And if it didn't look like a viral video, it wasn't enough. It started subtly. We'd be sitting at dinner, a meal I had spent 2 hours grilling to perfection, and I'd see the blue light of her phone reflecting in her eyes. She wasn't looking at me. She was watching a 30-second clip of a couple in Bali, eating breakfast in a floating pool. "Leo, look at this," she'd say, shoving the screen in my face. "He surprised her with a private jet for her birthday. Isn't that so romantic?" "It's an ad, Clara," I'd say gently. "He didn't buy the jet. The brand paid him to be there. And we have a mortgage, remember?" She'd huff, a small sound of disappointment that felt like a grain of sand in the gears of our relationship. "You're so literal. It's about the effort. It's about the magic." The grains of sand began to pile up. Every weekend became a comparison test. If I suggested a hike in the local mountains, she'd show me a TikTok of a couple in the Swiss Alps. If I bought her a necklace for our anniversary, she'd find a video of a woman unboxing a 5-carat diamond, just because it was Monday. My reality, my hard-earned, honest, stable reality, was being compared to the top 0.1% of the world's most curated moments. I was competing with an algorithm, and I didn't even know the rules of the game. I watched Clara transform. She used to be a woman who loved the smell of rain and the taste of a messy burger. But the aesthetic of her life became her obsession. She started buying furniture we didn't need because it was trending. She started complaining that our kitchen was too dark for her baking videos. She stopped looking at the man in front of her and started looking at the men on her For You page. The men on the screen were always tan. They always had 6-packs. They never looked tired after work. They spent their days giving their wives luxury surprises and their nights saying scripted, poetic things about soulmates. I'd come home from a construction site, my boots covered in mud, my back aching, and I'd see the resentment in her eyes. I wasn't the golden retriever boyfriend the internet told her she deserved. I was just a husband. "Why don't we ever do things like that?" she asked one night, pointing to a video of a couple doing a synchronized dance in a designer living room. "Because I'm 32 years old and I have a job, Clara," I replied, trying to keep the frustration out of my voice. "And because I'd rather hold you than film a dance for strangers." "You're just boring, Leo," she snapped. "You've settled. You think because we're married, you don't have to try anymore." I'm 30, and I feel like I'm living in a black and white movie while the rest of the world is in Technicolor. That comment stayed with me. Settled. I hadn't settled. I had committed. I had built a foundation. But to Clara, a foundation was just something that kept you stuck in one place. She wanted the fireworks, the filters, and the main character energy that the influences promised her was her birthright. The toxicity reached a fever pitch during our 6th anniversary trip. I had saved for a year to take her to a quiet coastal town in Maine. I booked a cottage right on the water. I wanted us to unplug. I wanted to see her eyes without the reflection of a screen. But from the moment we arrived, it was a disaster. The lighting in the cottage wasn't right for her photos. The weather was foggy, beautifully atmospheric to me, but gloomy for her Instagram feed. She spent the entire dinner at a world-class seafood restaurant looking at her phone, getting upset because an influencer she followed had just announced an engagement in Paris. Look at her ring, Leo. It's bigger than my entire jewelry box. And he rented out the Eiffel Tower. Why couldn't we go to Paris? Because we're in Maine, Clara. Because this is what we can afford. And because I thought you liked it here. I liked it before I saw what else was out there, she said, her voice cold. That was the moment I realized the bridge was failing. She wasn't just comparing our bank accounts. She was comparing our souls. She had been brainwashed into believing that love was a competition of consumption. She had been told that a good man is a man who provides a constant stream of content-worthy moments. I looked at her across the table. She was beautiful, but she looked like a stranger. She was dressed for a camera that wasn't there. She was performing for an audience of ghost followers, and I was just the unpaid extra in her production. When we got home, the comparison fatigue became terminal. She started following divorce glow-up influencers. She started listening to podcasts about leveling up and leaving the mediocre behind. She became convinced that I was the anchor dragging her down, that if she could just get rid of the boring husband, her Bali breakfast and her Paris engagement would finally materialize. I tried to save it. I tried to do the surprises. I bought flowers. I planned dates. But it was never enough. If I bought 10 roses, she'd seen a video with 50. If I took her to a nice dinner, she'd seen a video of a private chef. The goalposts were constantly moving, pushed further back by the endless scroll of her thumb. The final break happened on a Sunday morning. I had woken up early to make her favorite pancakes. I had the coffee brewing. I felt a small flicker of hope that maybe we could just have a normal, quiet morning. I walked into the bedroom with a tray, and I saw her sitting up in bed, crying. Clara, what happened? Are you hurt? She didn't look at me. She just turned her phone screen toward me. It was a video of a couple celebrating their 10-year anniversary. The husband had surprised his wife with a brand new, custom-built mansion. The caption read, "If he wanted to, he would. Don't settle for a man who doesn't build you a kingdom." I can't do this anymore, Leo, she sobbed. I look at our life, and I feel like I'm suffocating. You're a good man, but you're just small. I want a kingdom. I want the magic I see every day. I feel like I'm wasting my beauty and my life on someone who is content with being fine. You're leaving me because of a TikTok video, Clara? I asked, the tray trembling in my hands. I'm leaving you because I deserve the world, and you're only giving me a suburb, she replied, her face hardening into a mask of pure, digital-fueled entitlement. I put the tray down on the dresser. I didn't yell. I didn't plead. I felt a sudden, sharp clarity. The bridge had collapsed. The structural integrity was gone. Then go find your kingdom, Clara, I said quietly. But remember, kingdoms are built on stone, not on pixels. She moved out that week. She left with her designer suitcases and her dreams of more. She told her friends she was finding her worth. She posted a photo of her new, empty apartment with the caption, Chapter 1, The Glow Up Begins. Never settle for less than magic. I stayed in our black and white house. I went back to my logic and my clean lines. I missed her, but it was like missing a person who had been replaced by a hologram. A month passed. Then too, I saw her posts. She was out every night. She was with different men who looked like the influencers. She was at the rooftop bars, the beach clubs, the aesthetic brunches. She looked like she was winning. Until the night I got the phone call. It was 2 a.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, the same nightstand where she used to scroll until her eyes bled. I saw her name on the screen. Leo. Her voice was small, shaking, and surrounded by the sound of wind and traffic. Clara, where are you? What's going on? I'm in the city. I met someone. He was just like the videos, Leo. He took me to the clubs. He bought the champagne. He told me I was his queen. He said we were going to Dubai next week. She started to sob, a real, ugly, uncurated sob. And then, I asked, my heart hardening. And then I found out the car was a rental. The clothes were on credit. And tonight he left me at the club with a $3,000 bill because his card was declined, and he just disappeared. I don't even have money for a cab, Leo. I have nothing. It was all fake. All of it. I sat up in bed, looking at the quiet, stable room I had built for us. Leo, please, she whispered. I made a mistake. I threw away everything for a ghost. Can I come home? I looked at the empty side of the bed. I thought about the main fog, the pancakes I made that she didn't eat, and the 6 years of mediocre loyalty I had given her. Clara, I said, my voice as steady as a structural beam. I don't live in a movie, and I don't have a kingdom. I just have a house, and you already burned it down. The silence on the other end of the line was heavy. I could hear the city breathing behind her, the sirens, the distant bass from the clubs, the cold wind whipping through the concrete canyons. This was the world she had traded me for. A world that looked incredible in a 15-second story with a golden hour filter, but felt like ice when you were standing in it alone at 2 a.m. Leo, she whispered again, her voice cracking. Are you still there? I'm here, Clara, I said. I was sitting on the edge of our bed, my bed now. The room was dark, silent, and solid. It didn't have neon lights or vibe, but it had integrity. I'm here, but I'm not the man you think I am anymore. I'm not the safety net you can just fall into when your tightrope act fails. I was so stupid, she sobbed, the sound raw and unedited. No background music, no captions, just the sound of a woman realizing she'd been sold a lie. He told me everything I wanted to hear. He said he was a high-ticket closer. He showed me his portfolio, his watches. I thought I finally found the main character, life. But it was all a set, Leo. He lived in a shared Airbnb. He used people to pay for his lifestyle. And when the bill came due, he just deleted me. He blocked me on everything before I even left the table. I listened as she described her glow-up life. It was a house of cards. She had spent her entire savings trying to keep up with people who were also faking it. She had rented designer dresses to take photos in hotel lobbies she couldn't afford to stay in. She had ghosted her real friends, the ones who didn't have aesthetic feeds, because they didn't fit her new brand. She had chased the plastic and lost the gold. I've been sleeping on a friend's couch for 3 days, she admitted. Everyone on my feed thinks I'm thriving. I'm still posting old photos to keep up the appearance, but I'm starving, Leo. I haven't had a real meal in days. I just want to come home. I want the pancakes. I want the boring main fog. I want you. You don't want me, Clara, I said, and for the first time, it didn't hurt to say it. You want the stability I provide. You want the man who fixes the plumbing and fills the gas tanks so you can have the mental space to dream of someone better again. You miss the boring husband because the exciting world chewed you up and spat you out. But what happens when you're fed and warm again? What happens when the next viral trend tells you that you're settling? I won't, I promise. The problem is, Clara, I've seen behind the curtain. I watched you look at me with disgust because I wasn't a TikTok trope. I watched you devalue 6 years of loyalty because of an algorithm. You didn't just leave me. You killed the version of me that believed in us. That man is gone. He died the night you told him he was small. I hung up the phone. I didn't block her. I didn't need to. I just put the phone on the nightstand and went back to sleep. For the first time in months, I didn't dream of her. I dreamed of structures. Strong, silent, enduring structures. The following months were a masterclass in reconstruction. I threw myself into my work. I designed a bridge for the city, a real bridge, made of steel and stone, built to last a century. I stopped checking her social media. I realized that comparison is the thief of joy, but detachment is the bringer of peace. Clara didn't stop, though. She tried the public apology route. She posted a long, tearful video about learning what truly matters and the mistake of chasing shadows. Her followers loved it. They called her brave and authentic. It got 100,000 likes. Even her regret was being converted into content. She sent me the link. I didn't click it. I didn't need to see her authentic tears for a digital audience. I knew what she looked like when she was actually crying on a street corner at 2 a.m., and that was enough for me. One afternoon, I was at a local coffee shop, sketching designs for a new project. A woman sat at the table next to me. She was reading a physical book, no phone in sight. She was wearing an old sweater and messy jeans. We started talking. Her name was Eva. She was a geologist. She liked rocks because they were honest. She didn't have an Instagram. She didn't know what a golden retriever boyfriend was. When I told her I was a structural engineer, she didn't ask how much I made or if I could take her to Dubai. She asked, "What's the hardest part about making sure something stays standing?" I looked at her and smiled. The hardest part is making sure the foundation is made of something real, even if it isn't flashy. As for Clara, the glow-up eventually faded. The main character story moved on to someone younger, someone with a fresh feed. Last I heard, she moved back in with her parents. She's still posting, but the filters can't hide the exhaustion in her eyes. She's still looking for the magic, while I'm busy building reality. I learned a hard lesson. You can't build a life with someone who is constantly looking over your shoulder to see if there's a better view. A woman who compares her man to a screen will eventually find herself alone with nothing but that screen for company. I'm content with being fine. I'm content with being boring. Because in a world of plastic and pixels, being real is the most radical thing you can be. Wow, that was something, wasn't it? I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm still processing some parts, so let's talk about it in the comments. I'll be down there waiting for your thoughts. Don't forget to like and share if you had a good time with me. See you in the next one.